betrayal came with thunderous signs, with red flags waving wildly in the wind, but mine came with soft whispers and familiar smiles. I had known Jenna since high school. She was my ride or die, the sister I never had. When I met Chris in college, he seamlessly became part of our duo. We were the trio everyone envied, inseparable, unbreakable, or so I thought. Jenna and I had shared everything since we were teenagers. From clothes and secrets to late-night heartbreaks and dreams, she was the one person who knew me better than I knew myself. Chris was different. He was my first real love, the kind that makes you believe every cliché about soulmates. When he proposed, Jenna was the first person I called, and her squeals of joy echoed through my apartment. Life felt perfect, and I often caught myself wondering how I got so lucky. My best friend and my fiancé got along like siblings. They planned surprise birthdays for me, worked together on decorations for our small get-togethers, and even had their own inside jokes. I felt grateful, often telling friends how lucky I was to have them both in my life. It wasn't until much later that I realized how close they had actually become. The first sign was a text. I was homesick with the flu, curled up in a nest of blankets when Chris's phone buzzed on the coffee table. He was in the shower, and without thinking, I glanced at the screen. It was a message from Jenna. Did she suspect anything? My stomach twisted. I knew Jenna's shorthand. She was always blunt, rarely using more words than needed. What did I need to suspect? I reasoned it away. Maybe they were planning something for me, a surprise, a gift. I forced myself to smile, brushing off the unease as just a side effect of my fever. But the signs kept coming. Chris began working late more often. Jenna cancelled our girls' nights, saying she was exhausted from work. There were whispers between them, quickly silenced when I entered the room. It felt like I was walking through fog, unable to see what was right in front of me. One afternoon, when I couldn't shake the feeling, I decided to visit Chris at work. I had baked his favorite cookies, convincing myself I just wanted to do something nice. His office was only a 50-minute drive, but every second felt like a mile. When I arrived, his desk was empty. His colleague mentioned he had left early, something about a personal emergency. Heart pounding, I called Jenna. She didn't answer. I called again. And again. By the third attempt, I was no longer hoping for a response, I was terrified of it. Her voicemail played, cheerful and warm, the same voice that had soothed me through so many rough patches, now feeling foreign and cold. I drove to her apartment, my hands trembling against the steering wheel. I imagined 100 scenarios, each worse than the last. Maybe Chris was in trouble, and she was helping him. Maybe I was overreacting. But deep down, I knew. Her door was slightly ajar when I arrived. I pushed it open, my voice cracking as I called her name. Silence. I moved down the hallway, every step an echo of my heartbeat. And then I saw them. Chris and Jenna were tangled together on her couch, their clothes discarded on the floor. It was as if the world had stopped spinning. My breath caught in my throat, a sharp pain spreading through my chest. They didn't notice me at first. The betrayal hung heavy in the air, a thick cloud of everything I never wanted to believe. When they finally saw me, there was no dramatic shouting or throwing of objects. I couldn't find my voice. Chris scrambled to cover himself, stuttering apologies that fell flat. Jenna sat motionless, her face a mask of something I couldn't decipher, fear, regret, or perhaps just exhaustion from keeping up the lie. I turned and left, my feet carrying me out of the apartment, down the stairs, and into the street. The cold air bit at my skin, but I couldn't feel it. I walked for what felt like hours, the city blurring around me. The people, the sounds, the life. I felt detached, as if my reality had cracked and I was drifting through the pieces. The following weeks were a blur. I moved out of the apartment I had shared with Chris. I cut off contact with Jenna. Friends reached out, their voices tinged with sympathy and curiosity, but I wasn't ready to talk. I needed to find myself again, to piece together who I was without them. Therapy helped. I found solace in journaling, in long walks by the river, in rediscovering hobbies I had abandoned. I learned to enjoy my own company, to heal the parts of me that their betrayal had shattered. It wasn't easy. Some days, the pain felt as fresh as the moment I had walked into that room. But slowly, I began to feel whole again. Months later, Jenna reached out. Her message was long, filled with apologies and explanations. She had been struggling, feeling lost, and Chris had been there for her. They hadn't meant for it to happen, but it did. She wanted forgiveness, closure. I didn't reply. Not because I hated her, but because I had finally found peace, and I wasn't willing to let her take that away. Chris tried too. He showed up at my door one rainy evening, drenched and desperate. He spoke of mistakes, of love, of second chances. I listened, not for him, but for myself. When he was done, I thanked him. I told him I hoped he found what he was looking for, and then I closed the door. My story isn't just about betrayal. It's about finding strength in the darkest moments, about reclaiming my narrative. I learned that sometimes the people you trust the most are the ones who can hurt you the deepest. But I also learned that I am stronger than the pain they caused. And that, more than anything, is the story I choose to hold on to.